The Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Jambo, hello, and welcome to the Great Debaters Contest. I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. Today we have a thrilling debate with the creme de la creme of debate, Uasin Gishu High School, and of course St. Anthony's Boys will be debating on whether devolved government is more efficient than centralized government. The first debater take the stage. You have 3 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to put your thinking caps on. Right now, we're going to think very fast, very fast. Okay, imagine this. We have one cake, we have 47 people, and they're scrambling for it. What do you think will happen? Messy, bullying. So obviously there will be no fairness there. So how about this? How about we cut the cake into 47 equal pieces and give each person one piece? What do you think? Fairness, development, and truthness. My name is Hibak Said from Uasin Gishu High School, and I am here to prove to you that the devolved government is more efficient than the centralized government. The devolved government has given ground for women to express themselves. And how, you may ask? Well, in the centralized government, the women were represented by only 9.9% in the whole government. 9.9%, less than even 10. In the devolved government, the women have been represented by 24.64%. Now this is very important for us because the majority of our population is constituted by women. It's common logics. I mean, seriously, why would we not have more people representing us if they're already above 50%? The women are very fragile and thus should be given more time and more space to give their views. The same way, Mama Mboga will always go to the woman representative and would not always rush for the men. On to my second point. There is more accountability with the devolved government. If, for example, the health sector is only given 4 billion Kenyan shillings and it is given to the minister will have more ground to steal or to pinch the money. Now, what will this cause? It will cause a loss for each and every county in this country. Now, what if the money was broken down into 47 pieces and given to each and every county? Now, not only will that be more beneficial, we will be able to root out and to square on those leaders or officers who use the Kenyans' money. Now, I want you to think fast again. Think fast, think fast, think fast. Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Idi Amin Dada, what do they have in common? They're all dictators. And what comes about, what makes them to become the dictators? They have a centralized government. The centralized government gives them more power to actually give those laws that makes the people weak. It'll give them a lot of power, and you know what that will cause? Manslaughter. Would you like to be affected by a dictator? How many? How many would like that? Now, we already know that the devolved government is better than the centralized government, so there is no debate here. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes for your opening statements.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Larry Mafabi from St. Anthony's Boys High School, Kitale. I'll first start by asking my opponent, what do you think if the cake you said could have one person to distribute to the people present there according to their needs? Wouldn't that work more efficient? Of course it would. So I'll start by saying that taxpayers will be hard-pressed to cater for the increased number of representation. We have to understand that with the introduction of devolved government in the Kenyan system, this means that there will be more leaders who will be needed in the system so that it can run efficiently. These leaders, they need pays. They also need to be given allowances, on which I hear it is on daily basis. So the taxpayer will be the ones to cater for these leaders. Why should Mama Mboga, earning 200 shillings a day, get to pay 50 shillings of his 200 to a person who is working in an office and the office is not well understood of its functions? This is not what we want as Kenyans. We want a state that will be ruled according to how the people feel that it is. We want a state that will have only one person to oversee everything. How do you feel to provide for 47 kids and providing for one kid? Which is more better? Of course, providing for one kid will make it more efficient for your income, especially considering those people who have low income. Secondly, when the opposition takes most of the seats in these states, it will have all it takes to overpower the government in the system of leadership. We have to understand that in Kenya, we have 47 counties. Of these 47 counties, what if the opposition takes 30 counties in leadership? Will any bill ever be passed in the Senate by the government? However good it might be and favoring the citizens, it will never. The bill shall not pass because the opposition will want to show the citizens that the government is always on the wrong side. And so, guess what, when it comes to the next general election, the opposition will have it. National unity is destroyed as counties strive to outdo each other. Each and every county is striving to be at the peak. Can you remember the incident that happened the other day in Machakos when the governor of Machakos did a lot of development within 3 months? What came from his senator? He just came out strongly and said that he is misusing the public funds. No, the honorable governor of Machakos County was not misusing the funds. In fact, the senator was just trying to make the governor to be seen as a person not equal to the task so that when it comes to the next general election, he's the governor of Machakos County. Do you agree with me in this? Of course I know you do, because you understand of the situation in Kenya. And fourthly, some countries lack enough resources, hence there isn't enough development in the country. You get to realize that in a country like Nigeria, which embraces devolved system of government, we have some different states, and Nasarawa is among the richest states in Nigeria. This state is rich because of its resources. Can we compare it to the poor Kano state in the same country? We cannot. Kano State is growing at a very slow rate because it lacks the resources to put its development at first place. And so I would like to urge you to agree with me and come to my side and say that the central government is more efficient than the devolved government. Thank you.
We'll now hear rebuttals. Proposers, you have 3 minutes.
First of all, I would like to shoot down my opponent by stating that with the increased number of the legislators, although they need their payment and it has increased, the overall wage bill has decreased. This is according to the national statistics. And also when he brought in Mama Mboga and said that she will be forced, she also has obligations and has to pay for the development, which will also benefit her as an individual. Another point is, when opposition is represented, that is what we call democracy. It is not a threat. It keeps the government on its toes. It ensures that there's accountability and there's equal distribution of resources. Unitary governments can't cater for everyone's needs. The unitary government promotes ethnicity, but the devolved governments cater for every community's needs. Every community has their own needs. So with the devolved government, the needs are met effectively. And when they say, the first speaker on the proposer side stated that the pieces that she put in quotes for the cake are distributed equally. That is why we have the equalization funds for the disadvantaged counties in every single, which comes from the 2% of the counties of the national revenue. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
My name is Joachim Kibuba from St. Anthony's Boys High School. First, I would like to counter what my friend has said. If the issue is to keep the government on its toes, then in the central system of government, we have the parliament, which caters for every community, where the people come from the diverse regions to come and represent them in the House of Parliament. So there is no need to come out with the counties, which will always bring our revenue high. Then second, I would like to say that Idi Amin Dada was a great leader because he came from a central government. I think all of you know that his country was not devolved. Then I would like to say that the one-third rule, which is required, to either representative, the male or the females in any institution in Kenya has not yet been achieved. So standing and telling us that that rule will make women, the county government will make women to come and represent more. That has not yet been achieved with its stage. We have in Kenya, we have the constitution brought into place, the devolved government. How has the devolved government helped that? Can we see now women, even despite women being created opportunities, we have 47 women representatives from each county. Now, where do we see the devolution taking us? The women have not yet, it has not been achieved, the one that rule is devolution. Now, then I would like to say that the counties are not equal. In Kenya, according to my knowledge, is that Kakamega is the largest county. So the counties are not equal. I would therefore like to oppose the motion by saying that the lack of experience in governance and decision-making at the level of regional self-governance could lead to problems in Kenya. For example, take an instance where you are raising governors, you are raising senators, you are raising a senator who has been a bank manager to come and represent your issues in politics. You are raising a senator who has been a prominent farmer in your county. How can he represent your issues? Surely he doesn't know all the issues that affect the people. So the raising of governance will just lead to poor leadership. Then I would like to say that central government is likely to get more funds for the development of the country. Taking, for example, the Bretton Woods institution, like the IMF, taking like the World Bank, surely can they trust a country, taking in Kenya, can they trust Samburu County than they can trust the Kenyan government? That is not practical. That is not practical at all. You cannot trust Samburu County, which cannot even feed its own citizens. Then you give it a huge loan. You are not helping yourself. You'll end up losing the money. Then that they will like say that the secessionist may weaken the stability of the federal states. Taking a case study in the United States of America, it was divided into two. We had the South and we had the North. The South believed in slavery. The North believed in industrialization. In the South, they came up as a city, a state known as Carolina. The Carolina believed in slavery. It said that if it could not be in slavery, it will secede. It ended up seceding from that government. It brought about differences in the colonial government. So with centralization, there is light in the tunnel and more light at the end of the tunnel. But with decentralization, there is doom in the tunnel. Thank you.
While the green reminds me of natural beauty and the white reminds me of peace and unity, the combination reminds me of Safaricom fraternity, their endless contribution to the humanity, the M-Pesa initiative building society. Thank you, Safaricom, for your endless connectivity. Mwah! We love you, Safaricom.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The proposers have been asked, are there statistics that prove that devolved government is less expensive than centralized government? And of course, the opposition have been asked, are we looking at devolved government from a point of glory for governors and senators and other leaders, or is it about their selfless acts and their commitment to improving productivity within the regions? The third proposer, respond to the questions. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Mark Tumi, and I represent the prestigious Uasin Gishu High School, and I would begin by answering the question from the audience where you asked us if we have any statistics that prove that the decentralized government is more efficient in terms of using our funds, the taxpayers' money. Now, as our opposers told us, is that we now have more legislators in parliament. Yes, this is true, and they are making more money than they were before. But the overall wage bill for the entire civil service, when you include the teachers and the police and everyone else who is in the civil service, has gone down with the introduction of the decentralized government. So what went up was only the cost of paying the legislators. The cost of paying the teachers and the police and everybody else went down. We have Idi Amin Dada, former leader from Uganda. We have President Mugabe, incumbent president right now, Zimbabwe. We have had Adolf Hitler from Germany. What they do have in common is the fact that all these regimes were central. These were centralized forms of government. So what this shows is that when you have a centralized form of government, it is easier for leaders to become dictators because power is centralized. Only few people have meaningful roles to play. But then when we have a decentralized form of government, we have more people at play. We have more opinions coming in. We have more people in control. So this helps us in keeping control of our country. When we have a decentralized form of government, previously we would have one person being in control of, for example, the entire security docket in the centralized government. So one person was in control of the funds allocated for the entire country, for 43 million people, the funds for security. So this person will be given a lot of money, perhaps 5 billion Kenyan shillings. So when this person fails to do their job or is unresponsive or becomes corrupt, what we end up having is one person causing the failure of an entire nation. But then this can be avoided through a decentralized form of government simply because right now we have 47 counties. Each country deals with these dockets separately. We have Uasin Gishu County, so we will not be allocated the same amount of money to cater for our health needs as perhaps the whole nation. We are dealing with a less amount of money. So when our leaders are inefficient, only Uasin Gishu County will be affected. So what does this show? It shows that a decentralized form of government does cushion us from the effects of corruption and bad leadership because we will always have it. We are human beings. We cannot say that we will have perfect leaders one day. We are lying to each other. The truth of the matter is that we will always have bad leaders. So we cushion this. Thank you for your time.
Opposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
My name is Japheth Mutisia from St. Anthony's Boys High School, Kitale. I'd like to begin by answering the question that we had been asked. I'd like to say that the leaders in these systems of devolution are more selfish than the leaders which we've been having in the past. Look at the current times. In Kenya, MCAs who are members of the county assemblies have been wanting to go on benchmarking trips to other countries, for example, Switzerland, and so that they can be able to get this information on devolution. And this is a waste of the taxpayers' money. These leaders of the devolved governments are also more selfish because look at the governors. They want to get pays for their first ladies. You are a taxpayer because everything you do, everything you purchase has value-added tax. You are a taxpayer because you earn salaries and your taxes is deducted for your salaries. Do you want your money to be spent on paying people who have no work? Look at the first lady of this county, who was in Gishu County. What are her duties? What are her roles? What roles does she perform? Is this not selfish leadership? Corruption is increased in these devolution systems. Devolved corruption is seen in every county. Look at this. Having one leader who is corrupt and having 47 other leaders who are corrupt, who is easy to manage? Which corruption is easy to manage? Is it corruption that is done by one leader? Is it corruption that is done by 47 different people? It is easier to curb corruption that is done by one person because it is easy to face that single person and to confront him about the acts he is doing. But having 47 different people, is it easy to have this leadership? It is not. We always need diversity in leadership. We need ideas from all over the country so that we can bring this country to a higher level. Let's look at this case. For example, there's a person in Marsabit County or a person from Machakos County with ideas that will help this country develop. But having devolution, that person will only use his skills and his ideas in his own country. But having the centralized government, these ideas will be spread to the whole country, and this will help this country develop. This is because having different ideas and different styles and different skills leads to development of a country. We need a unitary government, a government with one leader, a leader you can always look up to, a leader you can always ask him whatever we need, a leader we can always look up to take us to wherever we want to go. And this leader comes from the unitary government, the centralized government. Think about this, friends.
Closing submissions, beginning with the proposers. You have 1 minute.
I would first of all like to discredit the fact that we are being told that corruption is higher. When we have a devolved form of government, what we have are smaller forms of government. We have less people to deal with. So in the case that one of these people is corrupt, it is easier to square in on the corrupt. Previously, you had a centralized form of government. You had 210 legislators in parliament. So when one of these people is corrupt, it is very difficult to carry out an audit. We had a budget of 1.15 trillion Kenyan shillings. When you say that you want to account for how every one Kenyan shilling was used, it will be very difficult. But right now what we have are 47 simpler units. So it is a lot easier to square in on corruption. And also, I'd like for us to look at this from this perspective. When we had a centralized government, we had all the resources from the country being put in one basket. Our resources are our eggs, our money, our GDP, our gross domestic product, which was all in one basket. So if something were to happen to this basket, we'd lose it all. But then now we have 47 So for the system to break down is a lot more difficult. Thank you.
Opposition, you also have a minute for your final submission.
A couple gives birth to a child, and to our, unfortunately, the child has all sorts of infancy diseases. Today, he has polio. Tomorrow, anemia. The other day, cholera. Is this what we want? No. This child is costing us. We spend more on the child than what we earn. This is not the right thing to do. We better kill this child and keep our money safe so that we can do other development in our country. So this devolution thing needs to die, and die immediately. It is costing our country a lot. We don't need to depend on it. It has nothing to do with the economy of Kenya. In fact, it is dragging our economy back. Why should Kenya be at a good state? And immediately devolution is introduced in Kenya, we become the country number 2 in corruption in Kenya. So are we developing corruption, or are we developing the country? This is not what we want. We want to develop this country in terms of real development, infrastructural and all the other sorts of development. So let us kill this devolution child, and let us make sure that our country moves to higher steps of development. This is what we want as Kenyans. You all aspire to live in good houses, and this is why I say that devolution is not something that should be implemented in any country in Africa. So I say devolution, no. Say no to devolution, period. Thank you.
Ian, you really stood out as a very smart, well-read speaker, and you started your team very well. I think you react to the moment and you give out very validated points across. Very current examples as well, and that was credited. Joachim, it's good role playing. You come over and really cross-examine. You actually take a lot of time cross-examining your points. But I think you needed to organize your thoughts, because that would really have brought out that coherency of your argument. Japheth, your points were weak simply because there wasn't that organization to bring out that punch. You can make a great speaker if you practice well.
Let me start with the third speakers from both schools. Mark was in Gishu and Japheth, St. Anthony's. I'll comfortably credit Mark from Uasin Gishu and not Japheth from St. Anthony's. I'm sorry to say that. Mark, at least there was a lot of references and a lot of credible information. Japheth, you made claims, let me call them allegations, which you cannot substantiate. So try next time to use facts and not to use hearsays. Karan and Joachim. Karan, I think your presentation was bumpy and you can improve as a second speaker. Joachim, again, another interesting debater. To the first speakers, side, you did well for your team. You built the case. You're passionate. I credit you. Ian, again, you did very good for your team. And I love the fact that when you came to make your final submission, you're not banking so much on rebuttal, but you're out to concretize the arguments of your team.
I think I was very disappointed. After the first two speakers from the two teams, I think the debate would have just ended. And I'm saying that because as a media viewer, as a consumer, I want to watch to the end. But when the rest of it doesn't keep my interest, I switch off. And I switch off because you're making very dangerous statements. You know, you want to be careful about some of the things that you're saying, some of the things that you're alleging. Do you have facts to prove that, yes, this is what is happening? And this is, you know, to the other speakers, Joachim, Japheth as well, so that you don't find yourself, you know, in a precarious situation by misrepresenting people for things that you cannot prove.
The judges awarded 66.4% to Uasin Gishu High School. Please give them a round of applause. At 70%, we have St. Anthony's Boys High School, and they are our winners for the debate.
We congratulate St. Anthony's, and both of the teams have done a good job. We hope to see better debates from this region. But from all of us here at the Great Debaters Contest, thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Of course, remember to follow us on Twitter at Great Debaters EA. And we'd also like to thank Safaricom M-Pesa and KVC Channel 1. We'll see you next time. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.